Put Canada in his crosshairs. Anger at the U.S. in this country has been white hot. What's it like to be a Canadian living in enemy territory?
What if I told you that some countries are now saying no entry to Americans, and the list is growing in 2025? Once popular destinations are suddenly turning cold, shutting down visa options, tightening rules, and in some cases, flat out rejecting U.S. visitors. But why now? Is it politics? Is it culture? Or is the world just tired of American passports getting a free pass? A major global shift is making travel harder for Americans, and one country in particular could completely change how you view international travel. Stick around to see what's happening around the world before you plan your next trip. Canada. Once seen as a calm and welcoming neighbor, Canada is not as open to Americans as it used to be. For years, many U.S. citizens viewed it as a safe haven, offering better health care, a quieter life, and overall stability. But in 2025, that image is starting to crack. Canada is dealing with big problems. There's a serious shortage of housing, making places like Toronto and Vancouver unaffordable for most. Hospitals are overcrowded, and the public transport system is struggling to keep up. With frustrations growing, people have started blaming newcomers for the pressure. In response, the government has rolled out tight restrictions on all kinds of immigration. Now it's much harder to get approved for long-term stays. Applications are taking longer, and only those with high-paying jobs or very specific skills are being considered seriously. Take one example. An older American couple living in Nova Scotia for over a decade. They paid taxes, helped out in their town, and lived peacefully. But when they tried to renew their residency, they were denied. Their retirement income wasn't enough under the new rules. The message? Time to go back. Canadians aren't against Americans in particular, they're just exhausted. As one Canadian newspaper bluntly put it, we can't carry America's burden. Our cities are maxed out. For Americans who once thought Canada would always be the backup option, 2025 is proving that safety nets don't last forever. Beyond the housing and healthcare struggles, Canada's labor market is also tightening. Skilled workers from outside the U.S. are being prioritized, making it tougher for Americans without in-demand expertise to find jobs. Moreover, some provinces are introducing local residency requirements, meaning newcomers must prove they contribute to the community beyond just working or paying taxes. Indigenous rights and environmental policies are also influencing immigration debates, creating a more complex landscape for those hoping to settle long-term. In 2025, Canada faces economic challenges like high inflation that increase living costs and fuel public desire to protect local jobs, making it harder for immigrants, including Americans, to integrate. Social tensions over immigration are growing, with demands for newcomers to actively engage in Canadian culture and language. Environmental crises, such as wildfires and floods, further strain resources, forcing the government to prioritize residents and complicating residency prospects for Americans. These combined pressures are changing Canada's historically welcoming attitude toward immigrants. Mexico. For years, Mexico was a favorite getaway for Americans. Retirees looking for peace, remote workers chasing lower costs, or travelers drawn to the warm weather and vibrant culture. But things are changing in 2025. After years of relaxed entry rules, the government is now tightening the reins. Why? Because over 1 million Americans reportedly stayed longer than their tourist permits allowed last year. Many were working remotely without proper authorization and not contributing to the local tax system. That led to a crackdown. Now, immigration agents are actively checking documents at airports and bus terminals. Fines for overstaying have jumped significantly, and more people are being barred from re-entry. If you're caught working without the right paperwork, you could be deported immediately. This shift is not just about legal enforcement, it's about growing resentment. In cities like Mexico City, Tulum, and Puerto Vallarta, locals are pushing back. Rising rental prices and a flood of short-term stays have pushed longtime residents out of their own communities. What used to be lighthearted jokes about tourists are now turning into serious concerns. One small business owner in Oaxaca said, "We're being priced out of our own neighborhoods while outsiders make money and leave." If you're from the US and planning to live in Mexico for a while, Be ready to show financial records, clean background checks, and proof that you're following the rules. If not, your next trip might end with a one-way ticket back to the States. Mexico's crackdown is part of a broader effort to balance tourism with local well-being. Some tourist hotspots are exploring caps on short-term rental licenses to preserve neighborhoods. Additionally, Mexico's tax authorities have increased audits targeting foreigners earning income within the country. This has led to more Americans voluntarily formalizing their status through business registrations and tax filings. However, tensions remain high as local governments try to manage the impacts of tourism-driven inflation while protecting cultural heritage. China. In 2025, China is making it much harder for Americans to live or work there, and it's happening quietly. Tensions between the US and China have led to a noticeable shift. More and more Americans are being turned away at the border, blocked from renewing visas, or suddenly told they have to leave with no clear reason. People who used to be welcomed, like English teachers and foreign business professionals, are now being pushed out without much explanation. Some are being told their presence is a security issue. One American working in tech in Shanghai shared that he was stopped at immigration, held for hours, and then denied entry even though his paperwork was valid. His employer had no clue why, and the embassy couldn't help either. Others say they're being watched more closely, getting unexpected visits from authorities at home, or being told their housing contracts won't be renewed. This is not part of any official announcement. It's all happening quietly, case by case. Living in China as an American right now means walking on eggshells. Everything might seem fine one day, but the next you could find yourself on a plane home without warning. The tightening grip extends to tech and education sectors as well, with Chinese authorities pushing for greater control over foreign influences online. American companies operating in China are facing increased regulatory hurdles, including data localization rules that complicate business operations. Expats have reported difficulties obtaining visas linked to multinational corporations as China shifts toward prioritizing domestic talent. Language and cultural assimilation are becoming unofficial expectations, even for short-term residents. The United Arab Emirates. At first glance, the UAE looks like a dream destination for Western expats. No taxes, luxury lifestyles, and top-notch facilities. But beneath the surface, places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi are becoming much stricter, and Americans are increasingly under scrutiny. In 2025, new rules for renewing residency permits have introduced much tougher background checks. Officials are now digging into social media posts, financial histories, and even private chats to spot anything that might cause trouble culturally. This year, several Americans were sent home over actions they didn't even realize were against the rules. Things like dancing openly at a beach party, sharing critical comments about traffic laws online, or posting certain memes have led to deportations. And deportation here is not temporary. Once you're out, you're banned for life. A freelance writer from New York explained, "I didn't get a warning. At the airport, they just told me my visa was canceled and put me on a plane back." In 2025, if you're not wealthy, not careful, or not keeping a low profile, living in the UAE might not be an option for you. In addition to visa scrutiny, the UAE is enforcing stricter workplace regulations, with employers facing heavy fines for hiring unauthorized foreigners. The government has launched campaigns promoting cultural harmony, encouraging expats to conform to local customs more strictly. Social media monitoring is on the rise, with authorities quick to act against content they view as undermining public order. Many expats now rely on specialized legal advice to navigate the complex and changing residency rules. Hungary. Hungary might not be the first place you think of for expats, but many Americans have been drawn to Budapest over the years for its beauty, low cost of living, and easy travel across Europe. However, that welcoming vibe is changing quickly. With Prime Minister Viktor Orban's strong nationalist policies, the country is becoming less friendly to foreigners. Americans, especially liberal, English-speaking workers, are now facing tougher checks. Renewing residency permits means proving you can support yourself, speak Hungarian well, and show that you're part of the local culture. That last one is now a real requirement. One American photographer who lived in Budapest for 7 years was denied renewal with just one reason given: not contributing enough to national values. Expats also mention sudden problems with banks, lost documents at immigration offices, and growing negativity in right-wing media that paints foreigners as threats to Hungarian culture. Hungary is not openly forcing people out, but it's making many feel unwelcome and pressured to leave. Hungary's shift also includes a rise in language and cultural integration programs aimed at filtering out those who don't fully embrace Hungarian traditions. Authorities have increased cooperation with local media to highlight the threat of foreign influence, often linking it to political opposition. Some expats report feeling socially isolated with fewer community resources or support groups available. Real estate markets are tightening as government policies encourage property ownership by locals over foreigners. The Philippines. Few countries have welcomed Americans as warmly as the Philippines, with their shared history, language, and close cultural ties. But even this island nation is setting new limits. In 2025, the government introduced major changes to the special visa program for retired foreigners. The minimum age was increased, the financial requirements were doubled, and retirees now must pass yearly reviews, including face-to-face interviews and financial checks. Why? Authorities say they're worried about growing costs, unpaid medical bills, and people abusing the visa to avoid taxes. One hospital in Davao made headlines after revealing it had written off more than $800,000 in unpaid bills, mostly from older Americans who stayed beyond their visas. A 73-year-old veteran who lived in the Philippines for 15 years lost his visa renewal after missing 2 interviews because of health problems. He was ordered to leave within 3 weeks. Even those who've lived there a long time are feeling uncertain. And for newcomers, the warning is clear. If you want to stay, be prepared with money, paperwork, and follow the rules, or you won't last. The visa reforms are part of a wider national push to improve public healthcare funding and address economic disparities. Officials have introduced more rigorous identity verification and increased penalties for visa overstayers. There is also a growing emphasis on protecting Filipino workers and ensuring foreigners do not take jobs away from locals. Healthcare providers are collaborating with immigration to flag unpaid medical expenses more efficiently. The government is encouraging retirees to invest in local communities as part of a new integration strategy. Thailand. Thailand, known as the Land of Smiles, is still welcoming, but not as freely for Americans in 2025. The government has introduced the Secure Thailand program to better control long-term foreign residents.
Government looking at programs to help encourage businesses to relook at their fundamentals.
Many Americans, especially digital nomads, are now facing tougher rules. To get a long-term visa, applicants must prove a steady monthly income of at least $3,000, have local health insurance, show a clean criminal record from both their home country and abroad, and complete biometric check-ins every 3 months. Even popular options like the Elite Visa are under close review, with nearly 2,000 visas canceled in the last year. One American YouTuber living in Chiang Mai was denied re-entry after making a joke about Thai politics in a video. He later said, "I didn't think it would be a problem, but nothing is taken lightly anymore." Thailand is not banning Americans outright, but the new rules make staying long-term complicated and stressful, pushing many to leave voluntarily. Thailand's efforts to control long-term foreigners include new digital tracking systems linked to immigration databases. The Secure Thailand program also promotes cultural education classes for expats to help them understand local customs and laws better. Many digital nomads are turning to alternative countries with less strict rules as Thailand's bureaucracy grows more complex. The government's tourism board is simultaneously working to improve the quality of visitors, focusing on sustainable and responsible tourism to reduce negative social impacts. This is not a rumor or an exaggeration. It's happening quietly but steadily all over the world. The American passport still opens some doors, but fewer than before. And those doors often come with extra rules, checks, and conditions. Global shifts in expat life. What this means for Americans abroad. The changing attitudes and policies around the world reflect a larger global shift in how countries view foreign residents, especially Americans. Many governments are tightening rules not only to manage economic and social pressures, but also to protect national security and cultural identity. This means Americans abroad must be more mindful than ever about respecting local laws, customs, and economic realities. Simple missteps, whether online posts, visa paperwork delays, or misunderstandings about residency requirements, can now have serious consequences. Moreover, global political tensions, including trade disputes and diplomatic challenges, are influencing how some countries treat American visitors and expatriates. In some places, increased surveillance and stricter enforcement are part of efforts to assert sovereignty and reduce foreign influence. For U.S. citizens, this often translates into less certainty about visa renewals, more frequent checks, and a higher burden to prove their value and legitimacy within the host country. Ultimately, Americans planning to live, work, or retire abroad need to do thorough research, maintain clear documentation, and remain adaptable. Connecting with local communities, learning the language, and contributing positively to the economy and culture can help smooth the way. But the era when a U.S. passport guaranteed easy entry and long-term welcome is fading, replaced by a more complex and cautious global environment. Staying informed and respectful is more important than ever for those seeking new lives beyond America's borders. Growing impact on global mobility and U.S. expat communities. As these tightening immigration policies unfold worldwide, the broader impact on American expatriates and global mobility is becoming increasingly evident. Many long-term U.S. residents abroad report a heightened sense of instability, with uncertainty over visa renewals and residency status fueling anxiety. This has led some Americans to reconsider their expatriate plans altogether or return home sooner than intended. For families, this means difficult decisions around education, healthcare access, and employment, especially in countries where long-term residency was once seen as straightforward. The ripple effects also extend to international business and cultural exchange. Companies reliant on American talent are facing hurdles in staffing foreign offices, with visa restrictions slowing down hiring and complicating transfers. At the same time, educational institutions and language schools that traditionally welcomed American students and teachers see declining enrollments. This shift not only affects individual livelihoods, but could reduce the diversity and cross-cultural connections that have long been hallmarks of global cities. Looking ahead, experts suggest that Americans planning to live abroad will need to be more strategic than ever. Keeping thorough documentation, securing legal advice, and demonstrating integration into local communities will be crucial. Meanwhile, some anticipate that emerging alternative destinations with friendlier policies may become new hubs for American expats, reshaping the traditional patterns of migration and expatriation for years to come. The world is paying close attention to America, its politics, its economy, and its culture. And the impact is not just in the headlines anymore. It's affecting laws, visas, and the everyday lives of people around the globe. So what's really happening here? Are these countries just looking out for themselves, or is America's global standing slowly fading? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. We read every single one. Until next time, stay curious, be respectful, and if you can, stay welcomed wherever you